All right, coming back at you again. Those way be edified. First and foremost, when you give our praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Bashim Kabadash. Second, when you give double honor to Apostle GMS and 12. And people, that's the salutations of the hopefully elect. And like I said, for you so called Negro, Latino, Hispanics, Native American, West Indians, which this gospel has only been given unto you. And those way be edified. This is Chicago Rob from GMS, Virginia. And as the title, Galatians 3:28-29, I asked ChatGPT about were there Israelites that were Hellenized or followed Greek customs. And I will just read what they say. Because one thing Christians use, it's not going to be long. One thing Christians like to pull out is the scripture. Because again, we fucking Christians, man, are fucking retarded. Um, I'm, I'm still kind of surprised when I pass certain churches on Sunday. It still be filled up, but again, the folly, simplicity of the people, right? The gimmicks and the schemes. So, ChatGPT, I asked the ChatGPT whether Israelites who follow Greek customs, and it said yes because Christians use this verse. He says, "You see, even white people." Well, you don't know what you're talking about. Those we're talking about the Israelites who what? Who became Greek, became Greeks. They followed the Greek custom, became Hellenized. That's why we got to really understand what Paul and Peter, that whole council was about, going into the dispersed Israelites and the Israelites who were acting like heathens, even to this day, right? Um, what is it, 2,000 years later, roughly? You have our people acting like every fucking thing, right? Blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, names that were never, ever, ever given to our people. We have taken upon these cultures and names that the so-called white men, our oppressors, gave to us. And we have fully enacted however they portrayed us, right? So we have become complete heathens and Gentiles, right? We are those people that, that the scriptures talking about, being lost, etc. Heathenistic. We were Gentiles at one point, and now we're remembering ourselves. So it says, yes, there were Israelites or Jews who followed Greek customs, especially during and after the conquest of Alexander the Great. You go read the book, read the Apocrypha, go into the book of Maccabees, and 1 and 2. Just read along, and you'll see, right? And then after the Maccabees, the Greek Empire, then came thus the Roman Empire. If I'm not mistaken, you had the Roman Empire coming into power in the second book of Maccabees. So it says in the period known as the Hellenistic era, and if any dummy don't believe this, you can look up the Hellenistic era for itself. I actually have a lot of information and articles about the Hellenistic era. You know, roughly 4th to the 1st century BCE. These Jews were called Hellenized Jews, and they lived throughout the Eastern Mediterranean, especially in places like Alexandria, Egypt, and parts of Judea itself. So it says key points Hellenistic influence after Alexander's conquest starting in 334 BCE. Greek culture spread widely across the Middle East. We understand that name is fairly created. It was created because I don't have a map, but you can look at, or you can find a map, show Alexander's conquest. So it said Greek language, philosophy, gymnasiums. I speak about this all the time, man. At one point, I want to say roughly the early 90s and the 2000s, man. That Jake going into gyms wasn't. You really had to have bread. I remember all gym, Gold's Gym, American Family. Um, There was another one. It was one more big one. I can't remember, but you had to have money. You had to have bread. And I want to say roughly 2013, 14, 15. That's when them gyms really was kind of like obtainable, obtainable to Jake, because I remember when I left Puerto Rico and came back to the States, and I'll never forget. The first thing I did was try to join the gym, and it was like, "Yo, oh yeah, to join our gym for the year." And I think you had to pay a monthly fee, or it was a contract. You had to, yeah, it was contracts. You had to at first, and that shit was like $300. I'll never forget. That shit was like $300-400. This was for Gold's Gym, and he said it was either no. He said it was $200 for two. It was $300. Then you pay uh like $19 a month or something like that. But it was even more. I forgot how he said it. It was either the less you paid that contract, it was the more you was going to pay a month, and the more you paid that contract, the less you pay a monthly, something like that. I never forget. But it's kind of like a fairly new thing that Jake is in these gyms. But look at what Jake has become in these gyms. There's nothing new. So it says how to so Hellenistic influence, right? Greek language, philosophy, gymnasiums, dress, and religion became dominant in many cities, right? Some Jews embraced this culture, often for social advancement, trade, or political alignment, right? Hellenized Jews. These were Jews who adopted Greek language and customs, sometimes even Greek names. They often read the Septuagint, a Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures. That's why this Apostles when talks about that, going into the Hebrew, the Greek, and the Latin. Many tried to balance Jewish religion identity with Greek culture. Yeah, I think it's something that they called them. Forgot the name. I think Gnostic, if I'm not mistaken. Not all Hellenized Jews abandoned Jewish law, but some did, which created tension. Why? Because they did what? Ended becoming like what? Complete heathens, Gentiles, right? That's why you go into Peter and it talks about, I thing, so to speak, roughly paraphrasing. It was talking about, pretty much, going into his people, being Gentiles and being heathens, man. So it says, and that's pretty much telling how, uh, and in those, when Yahweh said, having even found this much faith, even amongst my own people, that was talking about those Israelites that were scattered, and then when Yahushua came to them, they received the message greatly and did what? Repented and turned back from what? Their heathenistic, their Greekish heathenistic ways. Is circumcised. Yeah, they were the uncircumcised, which became uncircumcised, but they were of the circumcision. They became uncircumcised. How? Because they followed what? Greek heathenistic ways, but they were of the circumcision, so they were able to come back. I think it's a. Let me see something. Let me get this real quick. This is the blue letter. Roman Slaki, Galatians 3:28. It says, "There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Mashiach Yahushua." Because what? Our people did what? They followed and became Hellenized. And again, like I said, they did what they did and became bonded, or they pretty much joined themselves to that society. They use certain things to um, acquaint themselves with that society. So they did certain things to pretty much be heavy influenced or heavy into that society. So it said give themselves Greek names, etc. So they was into that society. They was into that shit, man. So it says Galatians 3:29, and if ye be Yahushua, then are ye Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise, right? Why and how can a real Greek or heathen be of the Abraham's seed, the heir according to the promise, if they was never there, if they're not even from it. Because what our people who became Greeks, Hellenized, they were Israelites. So let me see something real quick. It says seed, which sperma, from which a plant germinates. The seed, the grain or kernel, which contains. Let me see. So yeah, they were of the seed of what? Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The product of this semen, seed, children, offspring, progeny. Two, the semen vowel seed, the product of the semen, seed, children, offspring, progeny, family, tribe, posterity. So yeah, so that what is it? We go back. Yeah, the seed, Abraham's seed. So it says, let me read what it says. Hairs. Greek word is kleronomos, if I'm not mistaken. One who received by lot and hair and let me see. Yeah, so one who received it by lot and hair. So who was promised? Who was what nation of people were given promises? The Israelites, man. You know. Let me see what it says. So going back, um, yeah, Hellenized Jews too. No, 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 no. Tension and conflict, right? The growing divide between traditional Jews, and this is why you had the Maccabean Wars, right? The growing divide between traditional Jews and Hellenizers came to a head during the Maccabean Revolt, 167 to 160 BCE. The Seleucid king Antiochus Epiphanes tried to enforce Greek customs in Judea, including outlawing Jewish practices and desecrating the temple. Some Jews supported this, others resisted, leading to civil strife and rebellion. So this is why you had those wars, because you had Antiochus. I'm not good with this Roman numeral. Let me see what. Let me see. I V Roman numeral. What is that? Four. Antiochus the fourth. Yeah, Salaki. Antiochus the fourth. Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes tried to enforce Greek customs in Judea, including outlawing Jewish practices and desecrating the temple. Some Jews supported this, others resisted, leading to civil strife and rebellion. We also knew we had a lot of it says it in the first book of Maccabees, man. Um, so it says Philo in Alexandria, a famous example of a Hellenized Jew is Philo, 20 BCE through 50 BCE, 50 CE, a Jewish philosopher from Alexandria. He wrote extensively in Greek and tried to harmonize Jewish theology with Greek philosophies, especially Platonism. Right? So, come on, man. New Testament context, right? In the time of Yahushua, there were significant populations of Greek-speaking Jews throughout the Roman. Come on, man. Come on. That's a yo. That's a cut, man. So that's why it says in that chapter, this verse, there's no difference between uh, Jew nor Greek, right? It's not. talking about the so-called white man at all. It's talking about the our people who knew that they were Jews, and then our people who what have became Hellenized. And I'm gonna read that again. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. So 5, the New Testament context, right? In the time of Yahushua, it says Jesus right here, there were significant population of Greek-speaking Jews throughout the Roman Empire. So that just shows you how our people have had became Hellenized, man. You know. But Lord's will, I'm gonna go wrap this thing up. Lord's will, he was edified. And with that, we say shalom.